everybody. Welcome to another episode of Retro Wrestling Review, the USWA podcast. I'm your host, Gene Jackson. And man, am I excited about this episode. I told you guys when we first started, we were going to be doing reviews, and we're also going to be doing some special interviews. Well, you know, recently, we've been seeing some teases on the episodes we've been reviewing for a new tag team that was on their way to the USWA in 1993. Well, tonight we're doing a super deep dive on the formation of the tag team you all know and love as PG-13. And who better to join us on the show right here to tell us all about it than the man himself, Mr. Wolfie D. How you doing, sir?
What's going on, man? How you doing, Gene?
Doing great, man. I've been looking forward to this. I was a big PG-13 fan back in the day, and I know you've told these stories at different times on your podcast and different interviews, but we want this to be the mega super deep dive where we really dig into it. And there's a lot of us is questions that I personally want to know, and I hope the audience are right there with me. You know. All right, man. So what we're going to do real quick, I don't know how long it's been since you've seen this, but we've been reviewing January 1993 of USWA. Yeah. And on a recent episode, Dave Brown said, hey, we got a new tag team coming in via the USWA's open door policy.
Open door.
That's right. So we're fixing to, let's take a quick look at the tag team that's about to slip in through the open door right quick. And I want to hear the story of how this came together right out of the gate.
And I'm Sir Wolfie D. And we're coming on strong. Let's do the T.O.P. We're lean, mean fighters. Not storybook writers. Step on phone. Cause we'll burn you like fire. The name's PG-13. There's no two greater. All the ladies want to know. Hey, what you doing later? Everybody step aside cause we can't be stopped. You out of shape. And out of date. And you might get dropped. This is a challenge. So accept it if your brain's that crazy. For one wrong move. And you'll be pushing up days. We'll beat you down. Leave you hurting. Have you saying, please get off the JCI. Sir Wolfie D. Taking out suckers just like you never seen. Everybody jump up for PG-13. Hey, ho, hey, ho, hey, ho, hey, ho. Hip-hop hooray, ho, hey, ho, hey, ho, hey, ho. What's up? You didn't think we could do it? Yo, 1993 USWA. These funky lyrics are brought to you by the one and only hip-hop tag team, PG-13. Two names you won't soon forget, JC Ice. Sir Wolfie D, we outta here, peace.
There it is, our introduction.
That's terrible.
So, folks, you couldn't see Wolfie. All you could see is the video, but I could see Wolfie at the bottom of the screen. And through this whole thing, man, he's covering his face, he's smiling, he's laughing. I think he was even lip syncing along to the rap there a couple of times. So, what kind of memories does that bring back for you, man?
Man, just I mean, that's definitely 1993 technology, isn't it?
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.
and Jamie's country voice and his rhythmic inabilities show through on that pretty bad. But I mean, you know, Jerry Jarrett, and see, when I came up with the gimmick, I never really thought we were going to be rapping. You know what I'm saying? So when we met with him and everything, he saw us and all that, and he said, I want to do some music videos. Can y'all write a rap? And just luckily, you know, like in high school, man, I was, you know, 9th, 10th grade and stuff. I was, and well, heck, even before that, but I was all about some NWA, Ghetto Boys, and, you know, all that stuff, man. And so I had written some raps before, just, you know, that's kind of what you did in those days at school. I think, you know, everybody tried their hand at it, but I didn't like rap at school or nothing. I just write it down and just sing, you know. But so I had a little bit of experience doing it. And so when he said, can you write a rap? I was like, Yeah, I can't. And so he said, okay. He said, I forget how we came with Hip Hop Hooray. It was just popular at the time, and I remember, I don't know if I had the instrumental on like a cassette or something, but I think I said I'll write it to that. I don't remember how that happened, but that was the song, and he wanted us to, do the hey ho thing.
Yeah.
And so he said, I want you to, or because that one we really didn't mention anybody, did we?
No.
Yeah. So the second one is Jerry was like, I want you to call Jeff a twat, but I want you to say it in Carney. He said, I want you to talk about Lawler. He said, Danny Davis and blah, blah, blah. So I kind of had to do it different on the other one. But that one I had full range of whatever I wanted to write, just introducing us and all that stuff.
So that's fun because I was curious, like kind of what Jerry Jarrett's take on all that was. So he was calling the shots on some of that. So that's fun.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess one of the main questions I was going to ask you, kind of answered there. I was going to ask you like how far off that gimmick was, like from yourself, as far as like were you into rap? Were you into the whole?
Yeah, man, I was totally. And I mean, a lot of guys will tell you. I know Tom Pritchard said it. I think Cornette said it before, man. He's like, that's not a gimmick for them. That's
right.
who they are. Especially, and Jamie always says, well, Wolfie was, when they say you're all really from the hood, Jamie's like, well, I grew up in Hendersonville. Wolfie now, he grew up in Antioch, Lower Antioch. That's what Ricky Morton always says, L.A., Lower Antioch. That's where he's from, too. I met him, I was like, God, I think I was like 10, 11, something like that. And I lived in this apartments in Antioch, Tennessee, which is Nashville, basically, for those that don't know. And in my apartments, me and my buddy were just roaming around. All of a sudden, I seen this dude on a porch over there hanging out with some folks. That hair, you know what I'm saying? You can't miss it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I told my buddy, I said, that's Ricky Morton. That's Ricky Morton, man. He's like, no. I said, yeah. And so I went over, I started talking to him. I said, ain't you Ricky Morton? He's like, yeah, man. I said, man, I thought you was a lot smaller or something like that. And he flexed on me, right? And I mean, I'm a kid. He did that, and he said, "Does that look small to you?" And he had a little knot that popped up right there, and I was like, "Damn!" And I went home. I told my mom and my stepdad, I was like, "Ricky Morton's in our apartments, man. Ricky Morton's down there." They're like, "You're full of shit." I said, "No, man." I think I went back and got his autograph and proved it to him. Shit, it was funny.
Hey, man, you'll never know where old Ricky Morton's gonna pop up at. He can be anywhere. Yeah. So, and for the younger viewers and listeners of this, Antioch's where Jelly Roll, the now famous rapper, and that's where he claims is Antioch, right? So that's his
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Cool. That's where most people, if they've heard it recently, that's probably where you've heard it. But so how well? So I know you were wrestling. I mean, I guess at the time they were still calling it outlaw shows back then, right?
Yeah.
It really wasn't indie wrestling. So so you were working outlaw shows as Airwolf. Like you were working Jamie already on shows, right? Now, how well did you and Jamie know each other when this all came about?
We didn't. Well, we didn't know each other until we started working each other. I just, and I always tell people, I went to the Nashville Fairgrounds to watch Memphis, when it was Saturday nights. And I mean, I didn't go every week or anything like that. It was kind of a treat to be able to go for me. And I just remember seeing him there, and this is before he's on TV and stuff, and he's running around in his little dad's jumpsuit and being all, and I was just like, ooh, I want to punch this motherfucker in the face so bad. And he, like I said, he wasn't on TV or nothing yet, but then years later, I started wrestling, and that's when we met, was in Hartsville, Tennessee, on an outlaw show. Man, it was like me and Chris Michaels and Jamie, and I'm trying to think if there was a Gypsy Joe, a few other people that were good, but then the rest of them was trash. And me and Chris wrestled each other before me and Jamie did. Me and Chris were going out there doing, man, they couldn't follow us, man. We were doing counters and all kinds of shit before anybody was catching on to that kind of stuff. And we saw Scott Steiner doing it on Memphis TV, and Chris could do it, and I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. But yeah, me and Jamie started wrestling each other there, and then we went to Shelbyville, and Chris Champion was the booker there. And I, at that point, kind of started doing Sir Wolfie D. I didn't want to be Airwolf no more. I guess I was 18, something like that at that time. I've been in the business now I started at 15 or 16 roughly. And I kind of got the idea from Chris, because Chris Champion was doing an Ugly Kid Joe gimmick that I hate everything about you. He was using it as ring music. He was wearing shorts, but more like board shorts, and he had his hair, he did it different. And it's not one of his gimmicks that made it to TV, but wasn't like Yoshi Kwan or the Turtle or even Wildside, but it was just the look that he had. And I thought, man, I want to do something, a rap version, of that. So I'm gonna be Sir Wolfie D. My last name's Wolf. Sir, like Sir Mix-a-Lot, and then I don't even know where I got the D from. A lot of people think it stood for Dundee. And nowadays, when they say you get the D, you know what that stands for. So it worked out for me. I had a different kind of name. So, Sir Wolfie D. And I was wearing black shorts with the boxers, sagging, tennis shoes. And Chris gave me actually his one of his old New Breed jackets to wear to the ring. It was red. It had like a Michael Jackson gimmick on it with a tassel just on one side, and shaved the sides of my head. And so that was the start of that. And Chris goes, man, me and Jamie are wrestling each other, and he said, man, y'all should do that as a tag team. And we was like, yeah, cool, because he was Ice Baby on Memphis and stuff. So Chris said, man, y'all should do that as a tag team. And I don't know why, but so he was JC Ice. We dropped the baby, or he dropped the baby. That sounds funny. He was probably dropped as a baby.
I was going to say, so I think he's dropped a few babies in his time, but anyway.
Yeah, that too. So then one night, Jeff Jarrett is in Beaver Dam, Kentucky on an Outlaw show. Me and Jamie wrestle. I believe I know Brick House, and I want to say the other person was Pez Wally, but I'm not positive. I do know he was in and out of Beaver Dam sometimes. But anyway, Jeff was there, and Jamie obviously knew Jeff, right? So he's like, hey, Jeff, man. And he had one of those big VCR, camcorders, and he said, hey, Jeff, man, record our match for us, man. And Jeff did it. He stood outside the dressing room there and filmed us. And like I always say, knowing Jeff as well as I know him now, that is hilarious that he actually stood outside the dressing room and recorded our match for us. So after we had a really good match, we said, here's the take it to your dad. Take it to your dad. And he did. And we got a call, and Jamie said, we got to go up to the mansion and meet with Jerry Jarrett on such and such a day, and bring your shit. And the first day that we actually got blowed off by him one time, he was sick. So we pull up, and I can't remember. I mean, obviously we didn't have a cell phone, so we couldn't call us or, but we was I remember pulling up, and we didn't go in. I can't remember, we knocked and nobody answered or what, but somebody came to the door and told us he's sick or something. I don't know. But anyway, we didn't see him. So we thought, well, shit. And I guess Jerry called Jamie back, and okay, this day, I don't remember how long that was. It wasn't very long.
Yeah.
So we went back again. And before we went in, Jamie said, we had our bags, and we were in our regular clothes with our bags. And I probably should go back and tell you how the hubcap. Remind me to tell you about the hubcap. But anyway, so Jamie says, if we make him laugh, Wolfie, we got a job. I was like, all right, sounds good. So we go in, man, and sure enough, he's in his robe. And you could tell he had been sick, man, big red nose and everything. And he says, well, let me see this gimmick everybody's been telling me about. And so we go into a little room off of his office there, and we get changed, we put it all on, crooked our hats, and sunglasses, hubcap, everything. Oh, and the night before, we or did we do that before TV? I don't know. Yeah. We painted the shorts. Okay, we painted the shorts up because before I was just wearing black shorts. So then we hand painted them the first time that we did it. So we go in, change, boom. we come out of that little door and we're standing there, half crooked and all this shit. You know, the look that you just saw in that video is what we looked like. And he goes, he said, I love it. I love it. And so, you know, in my head, I was like, damn, Jamie's right. So that's when he said, hey, I love this. Let's do some videos. Can you write a rap and blah, blah, blah.
So up to that point, in your mind, this is a look and a persona, but an actual rap was not in the cards until Jerry's like, hey, I need a rap. And you're like, all right, well, you're getting a rap then.
Exactly. But yeah, real quick, the hubcap, everybody's like, well, how did y'all think of that? So originally, when we were doing it in the outlaw towns, we were carrying it was actually, I don't know if you remember when Peter Criss first quit Kiss, he released a solo album, not the one with the makeup, but his actual solo album. It had a jukebox exploding or something on it. Yeah. And had people running and all this shit. And I knew, like, because I didn't want to use a record that people would know what it was. So I knew, like, nobody will know what the hell this is, right?
Right.
So we had that, and it was supposed to be our gold record. So I guess I kind of did jinx myself into being a rapper, because that was our album. So it was like a gold album. It was inside there, and we'd hit people with that, right?
Right.
Chris didn't really like that as the booker. He didn't really care for that. So we needed a stronger finish, he said. And like for one night in Shelbyville in the dressing room, it was an old cab. Like they ran cabs out of there, right? It had a wrestling ring, and in the dressing room, it was like a damn junkyard, and there was just random shit, just everywhere. And we saw a hubcap, and there was actually a can of red spray paint in there too. So he's like, use this hubcap. And we spray painted PG-13 on it and put a rope. There was just a little rope back there. What a chain at the time. It was just a rope. And we put the rope around it, and there was the hubcap. And that was the first time we used it.
Nice. So you started out with Sir Wolfie D and JC Ice. At what point did you guys come up with the PG-13 name? Was it right at the beginning, or?
Yeah, that was before we, like, pretty much right when we started doing a tag team together and doing it. I came up with that, taking a crap on at my mom's house. I had a little notepad with me, and I was writing down all these names. Hip Hop Express, and I can't remember some of the other names that I had written down, but I came up with it because of the song by NWA called Parental Discretion is Advised for the moment.
Yes.
I thought PG-13, that sounds cool. And, it was like, I don't think up to that point, or has anybody had a abbreviation with numbers and stuff for their tag team name? I never heard of that before. So it was unique in that fact where it was catchy. And when I said it to Jamie and to Chris and them, they're like, yeah. So that's how that name came about.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Chic, Jared, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey guys, this is Wolfie D from PG-13. Check out my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D, every Monday at noon. We're talking Memphis, we're talking ECW, WCW, WWF, everywhere that I've been. We even have some great guests, some Hall of Famers on the show with us. Every Monday at noon, Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/WrestlePod. That is LINKTR www.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.
Yeah, that really made you guys. That really made you guys stand out because, like I said, yeah, it was definitely unique. And is there anything harder for a wrestler, whether you're a young wrestler starting out or you're a guy that's like, hey man, I need to change my gimmick, and coming up with a freaking name? Like, man, you rack your brain, you make those lists like you're talking about, and it's like, you know, things sound great in your head. Then you go tell your friend, like, what about this? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's terrible. And we've had a lot of fun on this podcast talking about like how long did Mr. Clyde spend decide that he was going to be freaking
Yeah. Well, that's Brian Lawler used to call him Commie Clyde because he was a communist gimmick, and he was a Commie Clyde, and then his real name was Nicholas Nicknahan, so Brian would call him Commie Clyde Nicholas Nicknahan.
Goodness, that's a mouthful. So you go to Jerry Jarrett's house, and how soon after you had that meeting did we start shooting the video? And I want to hear what exactly was involved in the video shoot there.
Oh man, it was real quick, real quick. I can't tell you the amount of days or weeks, but it wasn't months, not even a month. But Randy West was the cameraman for Memphis. Now, not the Channel 5 cameraman, but he was the house show cameraman and the one that edited the shows and would send them to the station. Okay, so he's the one that pretty much is responsible for all of those music videos that you've seen throughout Memphis, man. That was Randy West. So we go over, I think we did at Randy's house and not at Jerry's house. So he sets up I know for sure. So we did it at Randy's house. He sets up a black backdrop and gets his camera out, and they play the music, and we start rapping. And he put it together, edited it, and did all the little special effects from 1993 there, and that was that, man.
I mean, at the time, I remember when the first time it aired. At the time, I thought it was cool as hell because we're pretty close to the same age. Like, I graduated in '95, so in high school, I was listening to all the same rap groups you were listening to and all that. And so, I remember seeing that video. I'm like, oh,
and it's funny. Cool. I listen to it now, especially the second one. The second one's terrible, but that one's not so bad, especially for the time. But I remember, and I can't remember if it was Jamie or me. When we first came out on that first time when we appeared to have a match, some little black chick, she goes, not so loud that everybody could hear, but one of us heard it. I don't remember who it was. She was like, damn, they little, but they can rap.
But it kind of evolved because, all them 80s videos, man, there was like 6 poses that all those guys would do. Like, you watch all them Fabulous Ones videos, and you and Jamie would have been like, give them thumbs up and all that same shit they did in all of them.
I love the one where the Fabs are standing next to each other doing the thing where their legs and arms are doing like that.
I know that's got to kill their soul to go back and watch those today. I've seen you cringe a couple times watching that video, but I was thinking then as you're watching it, like, hey man, it ain't those Fabs videos, because I know Steve Kern especially has got to be like, oh my God, what were we doing, man? Like, 80s was a different time.
Underwear laying around together.
Chilling in a hot tub together and in the blue jeans on the hay bales with the straw in their mouth and all that. They had to be tough when they got in the ring to overcome that image. So here's an aspect I'm curious to hear about, because as fans and growing up watching Memphis wrestling, what was it like the first time you step into that studio, the historic Channel 5 studio, and how was it compared to what you had envisioned in your mind all those years?
Well, I don't know, especially like in the back, like that was like, what the hell? I don't know that I had an expectation, but it wasn't the little cafeteria break room. That's basically what that was.
Right.
But I'll tell you, when I came through the curtain, brother, it was a blur. It was a blur. I mean, seriously, it felt like we were out there for like 2 seconds. Honestly, when we had a match, And I think we cut a little promo, and on the promo, I ain't never been on TV, man. Nobody was coaching me. And I got I'm looking at the Lance wasn't there. It was Corey and Dave, but I'm looking at them instead of the camera. And, I come back and I get chewed out my first day. What are you doing? You're back to the camera. I can't remember if it was Lawler or Jerry Jarrett, but one of them gave me help for having my back to the camera. So I learned real quick about that one.
So, because most guys in y'all's position, I mean, Jamie had done it, but for you, I mean, most guys have done a bunch of like taped, like TV tapings and all this, and you're busting out on live Memphis TV,
right.
and your TV debut out there.
Yeah.
I mean, so I gotta imagine. I mean, and you guys did some just amazing things throughout your career. But I gotta think the day you walked through that curtain, you had to be thinking like, "Shit, man, this is it. Like I've done it. Like here it is, brother.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, man. It was. I don't really want to say this, but it's like it almost felt easy. You know what I'm saying? It was like I did 3 years or so on the Outlaws, and all of a sudden I'm in Memphis. And, that first little run, we were heels, undercard, yada, yada, left, came back, still not being pushed. And then Randy Hales took over and we got pushed to the moon. And then it's like a whole different deal. But, yeah, man, it's just like it just was there that quick, man,
It's
we went to Mexico
amazing
that year or the next year. I can't remember. Mexico, Puerto Rico. It was like bam, 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 and then '95 we're getting to go up to WWF, and holy shit, man, this is too easy.
I ain't gonna lie. Like as a Memphis fan, like seeing this right here, like seeing you guys walk out on Monday Night Raw. I mean, I just felt like a victory for like all Memphis fans. I mean, we had seen Lawler on there and everything, but I don't know, man. You guys were like, like you guys were the guys that weren't supposed to make it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, these guys are going to do okay. But they're not. Guys your size at that time did not walk out on Monday Night Raw, not in a WWF Tag Team Championship match.
Right? That's why they didn't keep us. I mean, because they loved everything about what we did. That was one night, 2 matches, one against the Job Guys. They gave us a win, and then a 2-segment match against the Smoking Guns for the belts. And if you'll notice, and I'm not sure again if this was a first or not, but we didn't know to bring our belts with us. Nobody told us that, because who goes on WWF TV with another company's belts?
Oh,
no one.
Unheard of.
And Vince McMahon announces us as we're being announced as the USWA Tag Team Champions, but we don't have belts on. It was like, oh my God!
But it ain't like, I mean, Lawler hadn't been walking out there with a unified title every week, so I mean, I get it why you guys wouldn't assume that there'd be any mention of USWA.
Exactly, man. Exactly, and at that point in time, I don't believe, I can't remember if we were taking. I think Randy was keeping the belts. We weren't trusted enough at that point to take the belts with us, but then eventually we were. And then I know you've heard the story about Jamie and his belt, but that's for another episode. But yeah, man, that could have been even more dope. You know what I'm saying? If we would have had those Memphis titles around our waist walking out on Raw, that would have been a much better picture. But I'm still happy with that one.
Because I can't picture, I mean, I know down the line, eventually you had like, I think the Rock and Roll Express or the Heavenly Bodies one came out with the Smoky Mountain belts eventually, and then you had those MWA. But you guys would have been the first guys to do it, and you were the first ones to get for them to even mention USWA Tag Team Champions and acknowledge it.
Yeah,
super. I mean, I was going nuts. I was like, man, this feels like we all won. Like this is just fucking cool, But backing it up to '93, since this is what this podcast kind of focuses on. Do you remember who was booking at the time when you guys first came in?
Jerry Jarrett.
Jerry Jarrett was okay.
Yeah.
I was curious because there's been some odd things going on. We've been trying to put our finger on, like,
I mean, every now and then, I think. Like Lawler might write a TV or something, but mainly it was Jerry at that point in time, Jerry Jarrett. And then there was a time where Lawler was the booker for a while while we were there. And see, that's another thing that we were very lucky with, man, is that, they say, you're either a Lawler guy or you're a Jarrett guy. Well, we were both. And I'm,
Right.
you know, and that was great to be in that position. And also, I think Dutch came in and booked one time. Dutch liked us. Dutch brought us to Puerto Rico. So it's like everybody that booked there liked us. So we were in good shape.
I mean, it was hard. It was hard not to, because I mean, you guys were heat machines. Because like to look at you coming through the curtain, and you're thinking of Memphis in that era. It's like these guys probably gonna be baby faces out of the chute. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, people are gonna relate to them. But I mean, you guys are out there using the hubcap to beat enhancement guys. I mean, it was heat, heat. You know what I mean? That was the first thing I noticed when I was watching the episode, and I had seen it back then, but it's been years, you know.
Yeah.
And so we're going back and rewatching these, and you guys come out and like, damn, dude, they use the hubcap to beat the enhancement guys. Like, we're going for nothing but heat right here. Like, that's good stuff, you know.
Yeah, man.
So what did they tell you, like, when you came in? Were there any expectations given? Was there any like, here's what we're going to do with you, or was it just kind of like match per match basis, like this week you're working these guys and then you just kind of take it as it comes?
Pretty quickly established an angle with Ken Wayne and Danny Davis. And then also with some Miss Texas thrown in there, some Frank Morrell thrown in there, you know, goofy matches.
Right.
And we were, that's what we were. We were ha-ha. And they gave me that opportunity with, and I guess I'm jumping ahead too far, but with Sean Waltman, which was great. But yeah, there was it was just Danny and Ken Wayne, and thank God for Danny Davis, man. He taught me so much, man. Like I knew how to, I didn't really know how to work until I started working with him, man. He taught me a lot, and he enjoyed working with me, man. I never forget when that angle was over that he calls me in his dressing room in Louisville. He was one of the guys that had their own, and he called me in there and he said, "Hey kid," he said, "I just want you to know, man, it's been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure working with you, blah blah." And bro, I'm telling you, I'm having to fight back tears, man. I felt like my dad was congratulating me on doing a good job at school or something. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm serious, man. My eyes welled up, man, and we hugged and stuff. And yeah, man, Danny Davis taught me how to go, man. And I mean, I'm 19 years old at that time, and we're going out there doing 15-minute Broadways, and I'm coming back puking, and he ain't even breathing heavy. And so yeah, man.
Man, I grew up in North Mississippi, so where I was at, right below Tupelo. I could see Memphis and I could see Continental. We got WMC and we got the Columbus, Mississippi station. So I was a Nightmare fan from both sides of the coin, from Memphis and Continental. But I remember Danny Davis got injured at like the end of '87, early '88, and he disappears for a little bit. And he comes back just freaking jacked. It's like, holy shit, what happened to Danny Davis, you know? But like, man, we was talking about the whole size thing. And I think you'll co-sign this, I'm pretty sure. Like, if size wasn't such a thing in WWF at that time, Danny Davis would have been like top tier. Like, everybody would have known who Danny Davis. And then obviously they thought a lot of him because of, you know, the way they used OVW, and he trained so many of the guys who went on to be major superstars. But that's the only thing that held him back, because man, Danny could work. He had a great look. He could talk, and he was training guys, like young guys that came in. You know, I mean, he had it all except the size. And that, man, I hate that. You know, but that's just the way of the world at the time.
He was awesome, man. He was a great in-ring teacher, man. I mean, I kind of joke with people, but I'm serious. I feel like I was his first student at the OVW. You know. Yeah. But my training was hands-on. It wasn't at the arena there.
It's fun. One of my co-hosts, Josh Briley, is actually his nephew. So we always talk about Uncle Nightmare Danny Davis whenever he's on. He's got a lot of great stories of like people, of wrestlers coming to his house because his grandmother made gear for people. So he's got a lot of great stories of guys coming and you know, getting to meet him when he was a little kid and everything. Yeah. But so you mentioned something interesting there, and this is something I definitely want to talk about. So you guys separately and together feuded with Miss Texas. And, you know, they were always looking for somebody for Miss Texas to wrestle besides Burt Prentice, because, you know, at this time when you guys came in, we're wrapping up the whole Bubba Johnson, Miss Texas used to be a man angle with Burt Prentice, and they're having back alley street brawls and just all kinds of wild stuff. Miss Texas, she could work, and but it always was obvious that she had something to prove, and she was bringing it. And there's times, man, like I've talked to my buddies about this. Like, man, there's days where I've been like, if I walked in with my bag and they were like, "Look, you can either work the Moondogs or you can work Miss Texas," I'll be like, I don't know, man. Let's think about that. So what's your take on working with Miss Texas?
Oh man, she laid it in, man, but she had to. She's a little bitty thing too. I mean, yeah, she's a woman, but she's a little bitty, but strong as hell. And people would mess with her, man. Like, I'm not speaking ill of the dead, but Brian would mess with her so bad, man. He would do stuff like if he had to get heat on her or something. I remember one night, like, he tied her hair up in the ropes, like, just messing with her, man. And but anyway, yeah, she bring it, and I remember one night she kicked Jamie, like, he goes for the backdrop, and she kicks him in the chest. Man, he had the laces and the little eye hole gimmick things, whatever you call those. It was the whole print was right there. The whole boot print was right there, man. Because he worked her more than I did. I didn't work her, but yeah. And as a person, man, she's a sweetheart, and I'm glad that she got the recognition she deserved. She's a Hall of Famer. What can you say, man?
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. So, you guys at that time, you're getting to go. They had that. They introduced at the time, around the time you guys came in. I'm sure y'all were figured into that probably at the timing of it. That
and what was it?
That middleweight championship.
Oh yeah.
They had the tournament. I think Jamie ended up with it first, right?
Yeah, Jamie had it. I had it. Danny. Yeah, that was the deal there. Yeah.
So
we knew about that. We knew.
Obviously PG-13 is your bread and butter, but what did you prefer? Did you prefer working tag team or singles, or did you have a preference?
I love working tag team, man. I love it. You have so many. You can be more creative. I feel like you got more stuff you can do with the 4 people. Obviously, in today's game, they're doing all kinds of craziness, but we were pretty creative with coming up with stuff, and even bringing back some old shit that was so old it was new. Right. Tennessee Tippy Toe was one spot that we brought back from extinction. But yeah, man, I love tag team wrestling. I like singles too, but even when I quit being Wolfie D and started being Slash, OVW, I had a partner. I will not mention his name, and then in TNA, I had Brian Lee. I also had Flash Flanagan in TNA. I had Sin Bodie in TNA. I had Crowbar in TNA. Is that everybody? I think. But me and Brian Lee we clicked almost on the level of me and Jamie, I thought.
I was gonna say that's who I most associate. When I think of Slash and TNA, I automatically go to Brian Lee as the partner.
When we had me, Brian, Mitchell, and Belladonna, that to me was the group right there. That was a cool group. Oh, and I think Wall was still with us at that point too.
Right. Yeah. That was the money group right there, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we're not going to jump way ahead because we're going to have this series, and I'm going to bring you back for different angles and stuff like that. But I do want to talk about just kind of why I got you here, and we're just kind of talking about the beginnings of PG-13. So as you guys are starting out, like, did you ever imagine that eventually you guys are going to be feuding with like the Rock and Roll Express, one of the greatest tag teams of all time, and be considered on their level? Like it was. I remember going to a spot show in Tupelo, like I said, 'cause I lived right down the road. And the Rock and Roll Express, like when I was a kid in the 80s, Jim Crockett promotion days, and they're wrestling the Midnight Express and the Horsemen. Favorite tag team. I remember being a little kid, like for Halloween, me and my buddy got black sweatpants and tied bandanas all around our legs and got concert shirts, and we were the Rock and Roll Express, you know.
Yeah.
So going to Tupelo that night and watching the Rock and Roll Express wrestle my then current favorite tag team, PG-13, I was just in heaven. I'm like, holy shit, I never in a million years dreamed this was something that could be happening. And then later, you know, as I got to learn more about you guys, I'm like, as I'm sitting out there in the front row thinking that, I suppose Wolfie D's on the ring apron thinking the same thing, you know, like, oh, wow, this is happening right now.
Yeah.
So how was those guys to work with?
Oh, they were great, man. They were great. I mean, I still talk to them today, you know, occasionally, you know, not every day, but
yeah.
Talked to Robert the other day. I know he just had hip surgery. That's his second on his other hip there. Ricky helped me out, sending me a video for the Tracy Smothers tribute show that I'm doing on my podcast, Live and in Color with Wolfie D. And so, yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, I met Ricky when I was a kid. And so I'm like, dude, do you remember me when I was a little kid?
Exactly. And Ricky's still wrestling.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's crazy.
I don't know that he'll ever stop, but I mean, and he's still doing it at a you know, at a high level. It's not like when these guys are just like, that he shouldn't do that. That's kind of sad.
That match in Louisville where they put us over on that big show. I mean, I don't know if you recall, but the excitement that me and Jamie had at the end, hugging each other, that shit was real. That shit was real.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, man. That was like a huge rub for us, passing of the torch, whatever you want to call it. That legitimized us, man. And you know, you was talking about your two favorite tag teams and all that and all this, but man, I tell you what, you look at those. I was a mark for Pro Wrestling Illustrated as a kid and all the wrestling magazines, and you know, being in some of those for the first time was like, oh my goodness, I was just ecstatic about it. I would check the magazine racks all the time to see if I'd made it into anything, and you know, in the middle there, you got all the rankings, you know,
right?
Top 10 of all singles, top 10 of all tag teams. And to be on a list of, I don't care if it's a work or not. It's basically, you know, those magazines are what Meltzer is now, in my opinion. Right. You know what I'm saying? So if he mentions you, you know, everybody likes that. I mean, I could give a fuck less because I'm not gonna get in that. But to be on that list and to be high, you know, 5, 6, whatever we were, and the names surrounding us was like, wow, man. I would go back and look at some of them now, and I'm like, damn, that's pretty fucking cool, man. That's pretty fucking cool.
It's very cool. I mean, and okay, you can call it a work in the same terms that wrestling's a work, but those rankings were based on the perception of how you were being used, how you were performing, where you ranked in all the tag teams in the world. So in that respect, yeah, exactly. So in that respect, it was as legitimate as anything, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you know, so yeah, that's super cool. Oh yeah, man, I've got buckets and buckets, plastic buckets of Pro Wrestling Illustrated, all the after mags, all the different magazines. You know, I collected those as a kid and read them cover to cover. My mom was always like, if you put as much effort into anything else as you did wrestling, like you could be a doctor or a lawyer, and instead I'm in the, you know, back room in my house doing interviews on a podcast. But hey, I love the stuff, you know what I mean? And I'm getting to talk to cool people like Wolfie D that I grew up watching. So I mean, and again, we're pretty close to the same age, so I don't say that to make it sound like you're old or anything. You know, sometimes you say that, people like,
it's funny because most people, a lot of the people that were fans were around our age and didn't realize it really. You know what I'm saying? They'll be like, "Oh man, I grew up watching you. How old are you? 50? Well, fuck, I'm 52.
Yeah. Well, because, you know, when we was kids, you was watching them wrestlers, and most of them wrestlers were like 50 years old. Yeah. And you just assumed like all wrestlers are old dudes. So you don't think about these guys you're watching that are in the main event are like 20, you know, at the time. But you guys were, you know.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here, curator of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, inviting you guys to listen to many of the programs here as part of the WrestleCopia brand, including, but not limited to, the Wrestling Memory Grenade, currently covering the 1988 and the WWF project. You can also listen to the Regional Wrestling Podcast, where we talk the territories, Whether it's Jamie Ward with Georgia 81, Roman Gomez with the UWF in 1986, or Gene Jackson covering Memphis in 85, 3 projects going on right now over there at Regional Wrestling. You can also listen to the Wrestling Stoop with the legend himself, Bob Roop. Bob goes back in time each and every week, covering not just his career, but countless stories and interactions with hundreds of wrestling names spanning his 2 decades in the business. But that's not all. You can also check out the Pro Wrestling Academy with the professor of Pro Resu, Mr. Dan Ginnity. Dan and I go back in time and cover the history of Japanese professional wrestling in the English language. And you can listen to all of those shows and more, all part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network, located over at WrestleCopia.com. That's WrestleCopia.com, and anywhere your podcast streaming needs are met, from Apple to Spotify, Pocket Cast, and beyond. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our social media guys for all the latest goings on here at the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Plus, I'm constantly adding old school video clips and pictures from throughout wrestling history. You can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter, at Wrestling Grenade. That's at RASSLIN Grenade. Also, follow and like me, Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. And why not subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. So if you're looking to support that next up-and-coming podcast brand, please consider making it WrestleCopia.
Another thing I wanted to ask about the 93 era there. So around the same time that you guys are coming in, Lawler and Jerry Jarrett are getting in with Vince McMahon. Lawler's up there doing commentary. Jerry Jarrett's getting positioned to possibly step in if Vince goes to prison, which is a funny thing to think then to now. But anyway,
Yeah.
So these WWF guys are starting to come down to Memphis. We've had up to now on the shows we've done, we've had Kurt Hennig come back to town and wrestle Lawler. We are getting ready to cover the episode where Doink the Clown came, and you had all the shenanigans with banana peels and oil on the floor and all this stuff. Giant Gonzalez, Lex. To me, and everybody who was anybody came through Memphis, but to me, there was something very strange and just unusual seeing Lex Luger in the TV5 studios in 1993.
Yeah.
But so what was it like? Was there a different air around the WWF guys? Were they treated any different, or what was the feel of you guys were just coming in, so you didn't have a lot to compare it to, but just.
Yeah. And again, it's kind of one of those things of it seemed easy and everything seemed normal to me. You know what I mean? But man, you got to remember, most of those dudes came through Memphis, so it was just like them going back home. And a lot of the guys that were still in Memphis were just like, "Hey, bro, how you doing? How you been?" I didn't know most of them, or any of them really, but I got to know them, and that was cool. I actually knew Undertaker a little because of a relationship that I had and his first wife, and was friends with the girl that I had a child with at that time. So they were best friends. So I kind of knew him a little bit, not a lot, but you know what I mean? So yeah, it was cool. We were obviously glad for the house they were drawing. Because if the houses always popped up when Lawler would face the Undertaker or Randy Savage or Mr. Perfect or whatever, man. Thank you, appreciate it. I didn't get $40 tonight like everybody thinks I did.
Yeah, so I'm not going to ask for exact figures because that's tacky, but the narrative's always been, all them guys making $40 a night in Memphis back in the day.
Yeah,
was the money as bad in Memphis as people try to portray it? Is that just salty bitterness?
It's bullshit, man. Especially if you're fucking over, man. When we first started and we were undercard guys, and the houses were down in 93 at the beginning, man. Memphis, there was a bunch of nights I remember, every town, probably, every fucking town, maybe except Nashville. Oh, we might not run tonight. And that's coming from, Jerry Jarrett and them. We might not run tonight. What? It never happened, but that I can recall, it never happened. But the territory was down in early 93, and payoffs were the shits. $40 most of the time. But when it started coming up, when those guys would be there, my pay was up, man. And especially Lawler was a better payoff guy than Jerry Jarrett. You could tell by who was booking there, by the money. And then also Randy Hales, once he took over, he was a better payoff guy, and he pushed us to the moon. So I'm getting really good payoffs nightly. Well, you got to check at the end of the week, but we're also over. So we're selling, a few $100s a night in gimmicks. So how is those guys in Memphis not making no money? That's just that's called jealous fuckers that ain't there and wish they were.
And that's a missing piece of the puzzle that don't get talked about a lot. I heard an interview recently with Wildcat Wendell Cooley where he was talking about how when he came back to Alabama the first time in like 87, that nobody there was really selling a lot of gimmicks, and he came in and started selling pictures and said that he was matching his pay a lot of weeks, and he had learned that in Memphis when he came through Memphis.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I guess that probably weighs into like, if you're trying to be like, hey man, don't you think it's about time for a babyface run? Or were you guys able to do pretty good on gimmicks when you were a heel, or was like, we need to turn, so we can make this money?
Well, okay, so we were heels at the very beginning, undercard heels. Right. We were brand new. We were something different, and we sold some gimmicks. Okay, not a lot. But then we switched babyface, and then the gimmick started rolling. And then the next time we switched heel was, I guess, when we went to WWE and started the Nation of Domination shit. And then the company closed in '97. So that was, I think that was the only other heel turn back to heels. Was that the Cyberpunks outfits were awesome for the kids. We did great on gimmicks with those. And so in the second heel run, we still sold some gimmicks because we were WWE's Nation of Domination, so
right. You guys are made men,
but not like our babyface run though, nothing like that.
So, even if, I've heard some stories of guys that were like, there's nights that you could take away more from the gimmick table sometimes than what your payoff was.
For sure.
So that's pretty cool to think, of right there that a lot of people don't consider, because that was a Southern thing too. Like, I don't think they were doing as much of that early on. In the later years, yes. But I mean, I think the pictures and all that was more in the South than it was up in the Northern Outlaws.
Yeah, I really don't know the answer to that because I wasn't up that way doing indie shows anytime during that time frame. But now it's back. It's the opposite, man. You go up north, they'll pay a lot for everything, and down here it's like you got to lower your damn prices to make any money, man.
Indie shows are a goddamn flea market. Anywhere you go now, it's the heels, the baby, everybody's out there and they've all got, I don't know how anybody makes any money because they got like 15 different styles of t-shirts and they've got 30 of each one. I'm like, you got $600 for the shit sitting on this table. Like, how are you sitting on all this inventory? Like,
right. But at the same time, I feel like, see, man, we had to get a damn photographer to take pictures. Then bring us the pictures. Okay, we want this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. We'll take 25 of each, and whatever. Yeah. And they were, I mean, it cost money to make them back then. Now you can print your own shit. You got an iPhone, an iPad. You can record shit. You can make dolls. I mean, it's so much easier for you. You don't have to go to companies that are going to charge you a bunch of money for t-shirts and all this shit. You know what I'm saying? It's actually cheaper probably to do it yourself, although you know what I mean. It's different now than it was then as far as having access to, I mean, everybody's getting action figures now, man. It's like people can just make them in their house, just buy a 3D. Who'd have thought you'd have a 3D fucking printer?
I know, right?
Who the fuck would have thought that?
Because I mean, I've heard stories of like those guys that made it to WWF and got the big rubber LJNs were like, holy shit, I've made it. I've got an action figure. Absolutely. And now there's guys that, have never been outside a National Guard armory that's got a table full of action figures out there. It's like,
it's crazy.
Good for you, buddy. You made it, like.
I can't say a lot about it, but I've signed a contract for something along those lines. So yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool because I'm one of these guys that collects that kind of stuff. So I kind of read between the lines on some of the stuff that's gotten posted lately. I'm like, if that means what I think it is, all right, let's go. So before we wrap this one up, you've mentioned Brian Christopher a couple times in this interview, and you can't talk about USWA from any era really without talking about Brian.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that we've talked about. Like I say, we've covered from January through January right now, 1993. And Brian's still he's probably 2 years in the business, maybe 2.5, 3 years in the business
Something
at this
like
point. And by all accounts, he's kind of self-taught, like him and Kevin and those guys had kind of started in the backyard. Most people just assume like, oh, well, he's Jerry Lawler's son. He had everything handed to him, and Jerry, had the best people train him. And like, no, that's not how that went.
No.
All that in mind, watching Brian at this time, watching him work in the ring, the psychology he already has, listening to his promos. But what I really want you to kind of speak to, and you've already kind of touched on it, like you mentioned the thing with text and stuff. Brian, even though a great guy. The little I know him, I know him a little. I've worked some shows with him and know him a little bit. But like, Brian was such a natural heel. Like he could get under your skin, and it didn't matter if there's a camera on or not. You know what I mean? Like, tell us a little bit about Brian on both sides of the camera, and just kind of getting to know Brian as you came to the USWA and you got to know him and got to learn about him. Just a little bit about how that all came around for you.
Oh man, like when I first met Brian didn't drink, Brian didn't smoke, Brian didn't do drugs. All he did was steroids and worked out, and he was straight laced, and man, that changed. But he was kind of, I don't want to say quiet. He was still funny, but he got louder as time went on, but yeah, I remember me and Jamie rode with him from Memphis to Louisville one time, and he ribbed me about trans. He told me, I forget what the amount was, but it was some crazy amount that I didn't even have. I thought, and I remember telling Jamie, and because he stuck with it, man. He's like, you owe me then, something like that. And I remember telling Jamie, why is he charging me that much for trans? Jamie's like, fucking ribbing you, Wolfie. Okay. Yeah, it was some kind of crazy amount. Like, back then gas wasn't shit. I want to say he was going to charge me like $20, and there's 3 of us, So, yeah, but yeah, man, Brian was a good dude, man. But he had a dark side, man. And yeah, man, I've seen him in some dark places, and I've seen him at his best. And he was my friend. I miss being able to, holler at him every now and then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys like that I miss hollering at. But, yeah, man, Brian was a cool cat, man. And he could work, man. I loved working with Brian, especially, like, later on. Because, like, when I got the opportunity to work with him in those early years, he didn't trust me enough to let me have many ideas or call shit, And then later, he realized, okay, he knows what he's doing. And then me and him could collaborate and come up with something really good, But, man, yeah, man. And then the Lawler didn't teach him nothing. I brought up this fact on my show one time. I don't think that Jerry Lawler has ever trained a motherfucker in his life. I don't think he's ever trained a wrestler. Do you know different?
No. And it's funny because I know, like, as a rib, like Jimmy Hart used to say on TV, and I've heard Prentice say it, they go like, there'd be some, one of the enhancement guys would like fuck up a move or something. They go, oh, he's from the Jerry Lawler wrestling school. And that made me get to think, I'm like, who has been from the Jerry Lawler wrestling school? And I'm like, wait a minute, there's not anybody.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That's
it
wild,
is for some reason. I mean, most people that are that good have trained people. I don't know, man. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong, but.
And maybe what he has, you can't really teach or something. Because, like, it's crazy. Like, there's people I've seen, Lawler have great matches with, and then you can't find a good match with him and anybody else on earth.
For sure.
You know, like
dude, he's absolutely, you know, people like to throw Flair out there and all that, man. I think Lawler's better, man. I mean, you've seen one Ric Flair match, you've seen them all. And I realized that before I ever got in the business. So that's not, because there's two of me. Like there was a kid fan, and then there's the analytical me now that watches it differently than the kid did, you know. But I could kind of switch that gear though, and take that part out of it, you know. So I just think, you know, I realized that early on that, you know, Lawler is good, man. That's how I, not only Danny Davis, you know, in ring, but just learning psychology. I would go, and we're talking about 93 here, and this is when this was, and you know, he didn't go to Louisville all the time. He didn't hardly ever go to Evansville and Nashville, but he was in Memphis at the Coliseum on Mondays. And so after my match, you know, which was usually early, I'd get dressed and I'd go upstairs and sit up there where, you know, nobody sat, and watch his matches every single Monday that he was there, man. And it just taught me a lot watching him, because I wasn't watching him as a kid anymore. I was watching him as a wrestler and trying to learn from what he was doing and why he was doing it. And dude, his selling is incredible. He really doesn't sell the same way for everything. You know, most people have one bump for a particular reaction to a move, not him. Most people, I mean, we know about his punches. Absolutely best punches in the business. Most guys are lucky if they got one good punch. He can throw anything, lefts, rights, uppercuts, jabs, I mean, everything. So I just think he's great, man.
I've argued with people for years that, you know, okay, Flair's great, whatever, but he traveled all around the country, and Hogan, you know, was what Hogan was, but he traveled all around the country. And like, I don't know of any other worker really that is so good that he could draw a crowd every Monday night and have entertaining matches for years and years and years. Because like you said, man, 8 weeks of Ric Flair in the same arena every Monday night, Memphis would have been dead. It couldn't have lasted.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying there weren't other people up and down the card that were helping draw those crowds and all that, but I'm saying, you know, Lawler was the anchor, and, you know, I would sit and argue with anybody that if Lawler ain't the best worker in the business, he's in the top 5. And I ain't talking about best wrestler, best, none of that shit. Worker. For the people who know what the word worker means, you can't make an argument really for Lawler not being one of the very best. I mean, it's just a fact. Whatever you think of him personally, or whatever beef, you know, you had with him, because I worked for him and I didn't like the payoff, or I didn't get the push away. Shit you hear on shoot interviews all the time, you know. But if you're looking at it for, you know, what it is, but and so before we sign off, and like I said, we're going to talk about this in depth down the road, but do you agree? I've heard it said a number of times, and I believe it from what I saw. You can talk about all the great feuds over years, the Lawler and Dundee, and, you know, all Lawler and this person, that person, on down the line. The last money drawing feud in Memphis, Tennessee was PG-13 versus Doug Gilbert and Tommy Rich. And I truly believe that's a fact. And I assume you believe that too, but how does that make you feel, man, with the history of that territory? What's that like for you to own that?
Yeah, for sure. That's great. And then because it all led into, and it all combined at the end too, you had that angle, which led into the rock and roll angle, which led into the Smoky Mountain angle. And then, you know, there was, I think, at least a few matches where Tommy and Doug was our partners, as the Memphis guys taking on the Smoky Mountain guys. So it kind of came full circle. So I kind of, in a way, I bunch all that together. I mean, I know the Tommy Doug feud was our first money feud. There was stuff before that was getting us over, the Eliminators. Oh man, there's, you know, just all of that. I can't remember everybody. My brain sucks, but they were getting us over. When we came back and beat the Eliminators, that was the starting point. And then everything leading up to Tommy and Doug was just getting us over. And then Tommy and Doug pumped us really up. You know, we're
Mhm.
shaving heads, putting out eyes, breaking Tommy's arm.
Mamas are involved.
Moms, dads, and all that shit. And then we went on to rock and roll, and then it all went into Smoky Mountain, and then, like I said, Tommy and Doug became our partners against some of those guys, and man, it was just it all worked like magic, man. It was just flowing, man. You know, everybody had a part in booking some of that too.
Yeah.
You know, Randy was the booker, and Randy wrote the TVs, and Randy came up with the majority of the direction, but then there was a lot of input from Tommy and Doug, obviously, and I rode with Randy all the time. You're damn right I was giving him suggestions. And then Jamie and you know, and then you know, rock and roll, and yeah, so it was beautiful, man. It was beautiful, and I was blessed to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's a lot more chapters in the PG-13 story to cover, and man, I appreciate you coming on here doing this tonight. I've enjoyed the hell out of it, and I want to have you back in the future to cover some more of these, you know, famous angles that we touched on a few tonight. But there's a lot more to say about a lot more things. But before we go, we got to talk about something else important, man. We got to talk about Live and in Color with Wolfie D.
Yeah.
Tell everybody a little about your podcast. Of course, our good friend Jimmy Street does that with you. Tell us about the podcast, kind of how that came together, and where people can hear it.
Man, Jimmy just called me out of the blue one time. Like, me and Jimmy didn't hang out. I knew who he was. He had come around doing some managing in the Nashville scene down there when I lived in Nashville. So, which was most of my life. But I mean, during the last years that I was there, I remembered him, and he just called me up or sent me a message. Hey, man, I'd like to talk to you about something. Is that cool? I was like, yeah. He's like, man, you know, he just shot the idea to me. And I you know, I've never in my life at that point listened to a podcast ever. And today I can tell you that I have listened to very few, my own included. I hardly ever listen to them. I just don't. But I have listened enough to where I know Jimmy does a fantastic job of listening to my ideas and also editing and putting the show together. He has his own show with his brother called Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling. His is on all the platforms that mine is on. Any platform that you listen to, wherever you get your podcast, you can find it. Live and in Color, Wolfie D. But yeah, man, we have on guests. Been on almost 3 years now, once a week. I'm running out of friends, bro. I'm running out of friends. So sometimes we don't, but the majority of the time we have a guest. And I don't know what you said. This won't air to July, so I'm not gonna plug the Tracy Smarter. But yeah, man, Live and in Color, Wolfie D. We have fun. A lot of people have said to us that it reminds them of an '80s morning radio show because we laugh, we like to have fun. I'm not about trying to get people on and knock people and talk bad about people. That's not my gimmick. So that's it, man. Just come on and laugh with us. If you hadn't heard it before, come on and check it out. See what you think. You can go back and listen to all the old episodes back to 3 years. They're, you know, obviously we've matured as podcasters. And I like to think that the newer shows are better, but the early shows were just me kind of telling my story. So check it out.
I've done podcasts since like 2007, and yeah, man, the longer you do them, the better they get. And for the last 3 years, every Gene Jackson podcast, the different incarnations I've had, people have been hearing the advertisement for Live and in Color and for Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling. I thoroughly enjoy the podcast, and I've told people, like people that I've told about it, to get them to listen. I do get that morning show vibe, but for the guys that you have on that are like really good friends of yours, I tell them it's kind of like riding in the car, like with you guys, maybe to a show or something, you know, and you're just kind of reminiscing, telling stories. But like I said, it's not like, you know, three bitter guys sitting around pissing and moaning and shitting on everybody. It's just like fun memories. And yeah, I mean, somebody may catch some shrapnel every now and then, but you know, that's nature of the business, you know. But yeah, it's a great show. You see it on the screen if you're watching the video. If you're listening, if you go at Live Wolfie D, that's where you can find them on YouTube. You can find them on all the different podcast platforms.
Yeah.
And like you said, they are doing this every week. I told Jimmy this recently, man. I was like, the reason I switched to the format of doing reviews and watching shows, I was like, man, booking guests every week is for the fucking birds, man. Like,
brutal.
It is rough, dude.
Brutal.
So kudos to you guys for getting that done for 3 years, man. That's accomplishment, man.
That's a lot. It is. It gets frustrating sometimes. So, oh man. But me and Jimmy have had some funny conversations when I get in those moods where it's very frustrating. Because, like I said, man, I'm running out of. I feel like we cover so much. We try to stick to an hour. I feel like we cover so much with each person that. What am I really going to talk about on a part 2 with somebody?
Right.
You know what I mean? There's certain people that, especially like you said, if I know them well, I can have a part 2. But it's tough. I'm running out of phone numbers. I'm running out of friends, and we need some sponsors.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, maybe time to get a gimmick. You guys may have to find some old shows to start watching and talking about or something. Because I'm telling you, that's where it's at. I was shocked, man. We've been doing this for, like I say, we're just a few episodes in, and we've been ranking like in the top 50 and 60 podcasts, and I'm like, people are like, that many people are listening to me and 2 of my buddies talk about 90s Memphis wrestling, and we weren't even there. We're just talking about it, but
sure,
I mean, people. There's a ton of podcasts talking about 80s Memphis. Yeah. But the USWA does not get a lot of love. There's not a lot of podcasts talking about it. So I was like,
man.
That deserves some attention.
Hey, and I wish I'd give anything, man, if those lost tapes, man, that's a motherfucker, man, because there was some good shit. Now, some of it has managed, that made it onto TVs per se, or, I had some stuff till some jackoff stole it from me that I won't mention his name. I had some stuff where I'd go to Randy West and I'd say, hey, that match you recorded at the Coliseum the other night, can you make a tape for me? And he would, but you had to ask for it, and he didn't do that for everybody. And,
right.
There's one match that I never got to see where me and Sean Waltman, he was 1-2-3 Kid. It was a house drawn by Lawler and Mr. Perfect, and we tore that motherfucker down third match, man, and Kurt Hennig even gave me props on it, and I was like, damn, I didn't even know him. He just came by, hey, kid, great bumps, man. Coming from him, I was like, oh, shit, that's fucking awesome. It was like the Angel Green moment, throwing the jersey to the kid.
Hell yeah, because, I mean, there was few better than the Kurt Hennig, man. Well, all right, man, I'll sit here and talk to you all night, so we're going to wrap this up. But again, thank you for doing the show, man. This was great, and we'll be reaching out as we work our way on through 93, and there's really some great stuff in 94, 95, 90. So we're just gonna keep doing these things week by week as long as people listen, man. So as time goes on and we run into stuff, we're gonna hit you up. We might keep you as long every time. I don't want to take up a bunch of your time, but man, it's great hearing your insight, hearing the stories, and to hear that you enjoyed doing it as much as we enjoyed watching it, man. That means a lot.
Sure did.
All right. Appreciate it, Wolfie.
Yeah, man. No problem. Thank you.